Back when I was a working man, I thought that phrase, good enough, was terrible. I tried never to use it. It seemed to me to be an excuse to not do your best, to do less than you could. I've come to the conclusion since then that it is a terrible phrase, but only if it's uttered with the wrong attitude. If it's uttered with the attitude that, meh, it's good enough, that you don't have to try to do better, that you don't have to try to do your best, it's still a terrible phrase. But with that being said, if you're giving your best and you're doing your best, it's satisfactory, but it's not perfect, maybe that's okay. Maybe that is good enough. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe that's okay. Maybe good enough is good enough in some cases. If your heart's in the right place and your attitude is right, maybe good enough is good enough. I do stained glass as a hobby now. I used to do it as a business and sell a few pieces here and there. And I've always been highly critical of myself in that regard, in that my work was never good enough for me. It was never perfect. There was always something that could have been better. I was doing my best, but it wasn't perfect. So I felt guilty about that. I was always really honored that people thought enough of my work that they would buy it to decorate their home. And if I was giving them something less than perfect, I felt guilty about that. I was raised Catholic, so I know a little bit about guilt. The Jews and the Catholics, we got the guilt thing down. But anyway, I wanted it to be perfect for the people that bought it. I wanted them to get their money's worth from what I was selling them. And when we're talking about things being less perfect than you'd like, or not your best for whatever reason, there's a certain amount of stress involved with that too. If you care enough to want to do your best and want to deliver back to this perfect thing, a perfect product, which there probably isn't a perfect product, but you want to do the best that you can. And if it's less than what you think it should be, there's a certain amount of stress involved in that. I guess it's debatable how much stress is good and how much is bad. Some people would say all stress is bad. I don't know. Maybe there's something about stress that makes you strive for higher goals. Maybe stress isn't the right word for that. I don't know. But anyway, at some point, stress becomes destructive, and you have to avoid that, I would think. Generally speaking, I think we all strive for 100%. I think we try to do our best for the most part. If you're taking a test, for instance, like in school or whatever kind of test that's graded, if, say, 85% is satisfactory in this test, you don't strive to get 15% wrong intentionally, right? You still strive for 100%. You may only end up with 85% or 90 or 75, whatever. And maybe 85% is satisfactory, but it's not like you were trying to get something wrong. You were still striving to get them all right. I'm kind of working on a theory that at any given point in time, everyone is doing their best. Now, your best varies quite a bit. And some days your best is a lot better than other days. But at any given moment, we're all doing our best. Then it seems for sure like some people's best doesn't seem that great. But who knows why? There could be any number of reasons why a person's best seems so low. And that's maybe the next day or the next week or the next month, their best will be better. Maybe it'll be worse, but maybe it'll be better. So that's my theory, is that, like I said, at any given moment, we're doing our best. Now, your best, our best, might not be everything we're capable of at any given time. We might be capable of great things, and some days we don't reach that level. But like I say, my theory is at any given moment, we're doing our best. It might seem like my theory is self-serving in that it excuses poor performance, but I would respond that saying that a person is doing their best doesn't mean that they can't or shouldn't do better. I think we strive to do better. I always strive, not always. No, I don't always strive. I try to do better tomorrow than I did today. I try to do better today than I did yesterday. Does that make sense? And also this theory is it's a mechanism for dealing with other people's shortcomings. So if I'm involved with somebody that doesn't seem to be doing very well, but I believe that they're doing their best, it's easier to deal with that. I was in middle management with a small manufacturing company, and this was before I had these deep thoughts on my current theory here. If I'd had that back then, I probably would have been a better manager. It would have been easier for me to deal with the people that I worked with. Hindsight, nothing like hindsight. In any event, it's a theory and it's evolving, and I'll keep you posted as it changes. And back to the idea of perfection for a minute. Perfection can be a subjective thing as well. Take chocolate chip cookies, for example. I have a chocolate chip cookie recipe that I searched out, adjusted, and I think it's for the perfect chocolate chip cookie. But I would never call it that because it's perfect. It might be perfect to me, but you might not like pecans in yours, so it wouldn't be perfect to you, right? I've tried a lot of recipes that claim to be the perfect whatever, and some of them were barely tolerable in my opinion, but to somebody else it was the perfect whatever. So there you go. Perfection can be subjective. And if that chocolate chip cookie analogy is too easy for you, try this one. Describe the perfect presidential candidate. No, I'm not going there, not at all, but you see what I'm saying. So where does that leave us? With perfection being difficult, if not unobtainable, and if it's subjective, does that leave us with perfect enough? Perfect enough for me? Good enough for me? And ultimately, it's an imperfect world, and we're imperfect people in it. So we can relax and enjoy that, or we can stress out and let it cause problems for us. Doesn't mean we can't try to do better. Doesn't mean we can't do our best. It can feel like a circular argument with no real solution. And I think everybody has to have their own theory on how that works, how perfection works, and how imperfection works, and how to deal with that. Well, for me, it comes back to attitude and effort. And I think everybody has to find their own balance with that. So let's see, all I have to do is do my best, knowing that it'll never be perfect, while trying to be better and not getting stressed. Sounds easy enough. Right. All I can say is remember the first noble truth. In life there is suffering. Peace and joy.